I want to start with this story here on this page, the marijuana moment, only because I like the... If I'm going to talk about cannabis, let's talk about the marijuana moment. Also, the picture they have here. Biden Treasury Secretary says, of course, marijuana banking would make IRS's job easier. And that's what this is what all about. It's making the IRS's job easier. Collecting money, collecting more money. Again, they always say it's about fairness, but it's really not about fairness. It's about collecting money. And that's what they want to do. The Secretary of the U.S. Treasury said on Wednesday that freeing up banks to work with the state legal marijuana businesses would, of course, make the Internal Revenue Service's job of collecting taxes easier. Of course it would. At a hearing before the House Financial Services Committee, he referenced the recent comments from the IRS official about the special type of collection challenges the IRS undertakes regarding tax collection from cannabis-related businesses forced to operate in cash only. Do you agree if these businesses were simply allowed to access the banking system and didn't have to transact business only in cash, it would make the IRS job easier? Yes, of course it would, she replied matter-of-factly. The congressman also talked about his bill, the Secure and Fair Enforcement Banking Act, which has passed the House in some form 5 times now and would resolve the issue by protecting financial institutions that service state legal cannabis businesses. So that's really what they're looking for, right? Banks are risk adverse. They're not sure what the federal government would do or others, and so they don't allow cannabis businesses to do banking. So if you try to use a credit card, for instance, in a cannabis store, you can't get one, a dispensary as we call them today, right? You can't use it generally. You cannot use debit cards or credit cards in a dispensary. Numerous financial, labor, and insurance associations, as well as key lawmakers, are pushing the Senate to attach the measure to must-pass defense spending legislation, as the House already has. Bipartisan members of the Senate Armed Services Committees, as well as senators representing Colorado, made the same request in recent letters. Well, I'm against that. Okay, we shouldn't. If it can pass, let it pass. If it can't pass, you don't attach it to some bill that must pass. In order, so this is where we get where we are today, where we get all these laws that don't make any sense because they attach it to something that we really need. And then politicians get what they want because of what we really need. I think it should pass on its own merit. My own opinion. I'm against all these bills that are 2,000 pages long or 3,000 pages long or more, because no way that the politicians know what's in the bill, and that's why we have to pass the bill to find out what's in it, as Nancy Pelosi famously said, and I famously said that many times on this program. While Yellen's response was quick, it's yet another example of the federal official recognizes the untenability of the status quo. Manchin, the Treasury Secretary under Trump, repeatedly addressed the issue, saying that current policy conflict creates significant problems for the IRS and financial regulators. It creates significant risk in the communities for collecting this amount of cash. It's problematic. IRS, for its part, said in September that it expects the cannabis market to continue to grow. They're geniuses. And it offered some tips to businesses on staying compliant with taxes while the plant remains federally prohibited. With respect to the Safe Banking Act, the bipartisan coalition of 24 governors recently implored congressional leaders to finally enact marijuana banking reform through the large-scale defense legislation. Again, pass it on its own merit. A group of small business marijuana business owners also recently made the case that incremental banking policy change could actually help support social equity efforts. Well, if all else fails, make the social equity argument. Rodney Hood, a board member of the National Credit Union Administration, wrote in a recent Marijuana Moment op-ed that legalization is an inevitability, and it makes the most sense for government agencies to get ahead of the policy change to resolve banking complications now. Federal data shows that many financial institutions remain hesitant to take on cannabis companies as clients, however, which is likely due to the fact that the plant is strictly controlled substance under federal law. Well, that's true. It is. That's a good story